coming up on today's show.
And when we talk about productivity, really making your individuals as productive as possible is critical.
You never really know who you're getting when you hire them, but
Yeah.
getting the right people in is, sometimes it takes months.
And often what I'll hear is my expectations aren't clear. It's not clear what's expected of me. And you'll hear it.
Maximizing your talent today on Keeping You Organized. Well, hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized. Today we have a great in-studio guest, Jan Lehman from CTC Productivity. And Jan, today we're going to talk about talent. You're probably one of the most talented people we know. But we're going to talk about maximizing the talent.
Perfect.
But maybe by the end of this podcast, she'll maximize my talent, and this will be like #1 rated in iTunes or something like that.
That'd be good.
So anyway, but we're going to talk about maximizing talent because I think when I read the business press, a lot of times what happens is people are always saying, my #1 challenge is finding good people.
Yeah.
So, once you get them, you have to have good systems, and you got to have a good supply chain, and you got to have good pricing and all that other good marketing. But having good people so that you can scale a business is really, really important. So let's just talk about on a broad basis. I know your company does the 3 T's, right?
The 3 T's.
Describe what those are first.
Sure. Yeah. So our mission is really to help individuals and businesses be more organized and productive.
Okay.
And we do that by focusing on the 3 T's. So it's time, talent, and technology.
Right.
So in our last podcast, you and I talked about the time side. We talked about email management, which falls under the technology pillar.
Yep.
And today we're going to talk about the talent side.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah?
And I know if people want to find those at smead.com/podcast, just look for Jan Lehman, or you can put that term in the search term, or email management. I know there's a lot of different ways you can find it, but we'll also we'll link it in our show notes too. So if people are
that'd be
on
great.
their computer, they can just pop right over it, because those were great tips on email productivity. But today, let's focus on, why is maximizing talent important? First of all.
Yeah, well, it's one of your most expensive assets within any company, and it's often where companies fail. And when we talk about productivity, really making your individuals as productive as possible is critical. And there's lots of aspects to how you can make them as productive and as fully engaged as possible.
Yeah, I know that. Obviously here at Smead, we hire a lot of people, and you go through resumes. You never really know who you're getting when you hire them, but getting the right people in is, sometimes it takes months to find, exactly the right match. But you can't know everything about someone before you hire them.
Right.
But we're also talking not just about hiring. We're saying you have an existing staff of people, and you want to be more productive and get more out of everybody. So this has got 2 sides to it, right? It's kind of the hiring side, but it's also kind of once you have people in place, a lot of what we're going to talk about today can also apply. So let's talk for a moment about expectations, because I think that's especially when you're hiring somebody, you're thinking you're getting this phenomenal person. They're thinking they're coming to this phenomenal company, and then after the second day on the job, you're both going, "Why did I do?" No, not necessarily, but
it's so true.
How do the expectations play into maximizing talent?
Yeah, it's interesting because often I get brought in to work with new hires coming into a company and making sure that they're successful and productive day one.
Yeah.
And often what I hear from them, because we'll do like a 30, 60, 90-day kind of check-in, which is important for the business to do it and for the individual. And often what I'll hear is my expectations aren't clear. It's not clear what's expected of me. And you'll hear it. And so communication is our biggest obstacle in business. And they say you have to communicate something 7 times to really get the point across. And I'm starting to really believe that. So in an interview, you're talking about it, but they aren't maybe getting exactly what the job is. So it's important to have different ways of communicating, having things in writing, exact bullet points of exactly what the job is expected, what you should be doing over the next year. All those things help clearly set expectations for the individual and for their boss.
So when you go and work with companies, do you try to back up and get into the process before, let's say for hiring new people? Do you help them kind of structure those job descriptions and things like that? So when they're trying to attract talent, they are clear, they're even clear before they even talk to somebody?
Yeah, it's sort of funny. So I don't help with the actual recruiting. That is really a unique skill set. It's an art and a science, right? But yes, I'll do exactly that. So if we're working at a company and we're recognizing that part of the productivity issue with the existing employees is because maybe they don't have the current skill sets for the job, we want to back that all the way up to the recruiting process, right? And make sure, okay, these are the expectations, minimum skills you need for the job in order to be successful. So yes, often I get sort of pulled backwards in the overall onboarding process into the recruiting aspect.
Have you ever been in a situation where you've worked with a company where you kind of get that communication, but they forgot to communicate it to the existing people? So the existing people think, oh, we're hiring a new guy who's going to do this. And when they come in and go, no, I didn't get hired to do that. And they said, they didn't tell you that in the interview?
Yeah, that's actually often where I think the ball drops, because maybe the recruiting and the upper management and HR has a plan, but then they sort of lob the employee into a team. And there isn't training for that manager, there isn't clarification for the manager, and absolutely it's where we see the ball drop. So it happened recently with the client. We helped them with the onboarding process, but they forgot to sort of communicate. You know, we've actually implemented a sort of a reporting back process for the management to be checking on skills, expectation, all that stuff. So the loop didn't get finished.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of tools, and we're going to talk about those in a second. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about tools and things that you can do to maximize the talent of people at your company, whether new hires or existing hires. Jan Lehman, CTC Productivity, is with us, and we'll be right back.
Place just for you. Life can be busy, and you still have to keep it all together. That's why you like to be organized and in control. Introducing MyOrganized.life, a special place where you can get ideas and solutions to organize what's important to you, your important papers, your important decisions, your important life events. We show you the ideas and products to stay organized in your life. See what's new. Stop by and say hello. Visit us at any time at www.myorganized.life. It's just for you. MyOrganized.life by Smead. Find us at www.myorganized.life. MyOrganized.life.
We're back now and keeping you organized, talking about maximizing your talent. And we have the talented Jan Lehman from CTC Productivity.
I love it.
Don't laugh about that. You just say yes.
Yeah, baby.
But before the break, we were kind of talking more about the onboarding of somebody new. Of course, we're going to talk about different things where really, even when you onboard somebody new, you have the existing people who also need to know what's going on. That's a communication thing. But let's talk about tools. So what are some of the tools that you recommend people use to help just in whatever stage of the process?
As far as for the purpose of maximizing talent?
Yes.
Okay. So again, back to communication, really clear. Having things in writing is really important. People can hear one thing and interpret it differently. You can even read one thing and interpret it differently. But really important to have job descriptions in writing, all those kind of things. It's important that there is, I think, a really open and honest discussion between management and the new hire. Where is it you think you need coaching, development, again, another area of communication. I really do believe very, very much in 30, 60, 90 days sort of check-ins to see how the person's doing. I absolutely positively believe in skills testing. So it might not be that the person had to have a particular skill coming into the job to get the job, but let's see where they are. So for example, often management will assume that new hires coming out of school know how to use Office, Outlook. And they have no idea. Nobody's teaching them Outlook at school. Nobody's helping them understand the workflow of how you manage priorities. So doing some skills testing to see what their knowledge level is in the Microsoft suite of tools is really important. If they're failing in Word, but that's a really important part of their job, great, let's just get them some training. And again, you want to set them up for success. You spent all this money in the recruiting, and that's something you can train them on. Right?
And probably in a resume, someone's going to say proficient in Microsoft Word. Means they know where it is, the icon is on their computer, and they know how to click it, so they know what they can do. So.
Well, if I can make a comment on that, John, I think it would be interesting. So often what happens too is companies use tools differently. So even if they were proficient at one company, it might be used differently. So the workflow within the company uses technology, and every company's workflow is different.
Yeah.
And we saw that in one of the companies where there was an expectation everybody is using like the task manager and Outlook. This new person, nobody told them, and they came in not knowing that was part of the workflow, and so they were failing. When in reality, it wasn't their skill set. It was again an understanding of the job and the way the workflow is.
Well, I know we've hired many people here, and I remember one new hire coming to me saying, I'll say, well, why don't you set up an appointment with that person? Get to know their job. Kind of you send people around. Then the person says, well, how do I set up an appointment?
Right.
In Outlook, it's like, oh, okay.
We make a lot of assumptions.
Yeah,
we do.
Would that kind of testing also be a good benchmark to have everybody do, so you kind of have a company-wide
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. We're doing that right now in one company, and I'm trying to actually implement in a lot of companies. Again, they bring me in to look for productivity opportunities.
Yeah.
And often what I'll find is people don't understand how to use the tool, so we'll say, let's go ahead and just do a benchmark testing of all the skills. And do it by position. Yeah. Don't blatantly test everybody on every tool, but like this particular position, an administrative position that does a lot of scheduling, should know how to do Outlook scheduling, the calendar, very proficiently, right?
Yeah. Now, when you talk with companies about this, let's say you uncover the fact that someone doesn't really know how to use Word. Do you have a procedure in place to say, okay, let's train them on that, or maybe this is just not the right person? Is there a way to weigh whether or not the skills that you thought they had and they don't have is worth training, or is like, maybe we need to find a different person?
Yeah, that's a great question. So something like technology training, everybody can use. Yeah. There are some people, even up in their 50s, 60s that are like, yeah, that's great, I want to learn it. There are some that are like, what, I'm too old to learn this. Right. And that's fine. Then you might redefine the job so they can be, using their skill sets to the max. That doesn't require technology. But something like technology, you want to continue to try and train everybody in it. And over time, if you see they're not adopting, then you might look at shifting their job.
Okay. So we talk about the technology tools. Any other kinds of tools? You did mention, like maybe you were referring to the personality assessments.
Yes,
are those ones that you kind of recommend? Are there some that you think work better than others? It's okay to mention names.
There's actually, I'm a huge believer in sort of personality assessments.
Okay.
At a minimum, I think it's great to do a personality assessment to find out if somebody's coachable, plain and simple.
Oh, yeah.
Because that is applicable in so many different areas. In fact, I'm thinking that might be something I should do before working with somebody. Because if they're not coachable, they're not going to change, and I fail.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
what tool is there? Which one would you use for that?
I don't know all the different names.
Okay.
I definitely have recommendations of like different companies I'd recommend, but I don't know the exact names of them. I just know that they're great for different areas.
Okay.
So like it's really important to do personality testing with somebody who's going to be in sales.
Yes.
Because just because they're an extrovert doesn't mean they have any idea how to close
Right.
or how to make connections between people.
Right.
And a personality assessment is a great tool to use, again, to make sure this person really has the natural skills for the job. Because you can't teach certain sort of natural abilities.
Yes.
They have to have that passion and that interest.
Yeah, I know in a former organization, I actually ran a sales team, and we used one called DISC, which is the four different characteristics. And there's the D is the driver, and I is intuitive. And a lot of them do similar functions. But our policy actually on there is we gave all new enrollees who were getting close to being made a job offer, and if they didn't go over in the D or the I, they had to have one of those two had to be strong. Otherwise, pretty much nationally, you would fail at doing that. So those are good key kinds of things. And I know the Myers-Briggs is another one. We're just getting, is this person, like you say, going to be flexible or not? Are they going to be, can't teach them anything? And you want to avoid some of that stuff because there is kind of a cost to making a bad hire.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I think somewhere around 20%.
Yep, 20% of the cost of the employees. When you think about a senior level person, 20%, that's a huge,
that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Well, Jan, we're just getting going here, and I feel like we're out of time because we want to be productive, right? But
use our time wisely.
Because I think there's things about strengths we want to talk about, and also how do you apply some of this at home? So we're going to have to do that on our next show. You willing to come back?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, great. Well, folks, So far, so good. We are maximizing talent here, and we're maximizing what we got in this episode. So if you want to really maximize, you got to come back next time for part 2 of this jam-packed episode on maximizing your talents. Next time on Keeping You Organized.